becomes eager to serve the Lord in his ecstatic love. At this stage, the devotee is on the platform of Uttama Adhikari, perfect devotion. Such a devotee has no agitation from material affection and is interested only in the service of Radha and Krishna. To clarify, in the previous chapters, by the symptoms of devotional service were explained along with instruction as to how we may execute devotional service with the present sense and gradually rise to the platform of ecstasy in spontaneous love. And the two kinds of devotional service, namely devotional service through regulative principles and through spontaneous love, were discussed. Within the stage of the regulative principles of devotional service, there are two divisions, namely executive and effective. The effective portion of devotional service is called bhava or ecstasy. In this connection, there is a statement in the Tantras that ecstasy is the first symptom of pure love for the personality of Godhead. And in that stage, one is sometimes found shedding tears or shivering. Not always are these symptoms manifest, but occasionally. When King Ambarish was put into difficulty by Durvasa, he began to think of the lotus feet of the Lord, and thus there were some changes in his body. Tears were falling from his eyes. The symptoms were activities of ecstasy. They are visible in the shivering of the body and the shedding of the tears. After the outward appearance of the ecstatic symptoms, they stay within the mind, and the continuation of the ecstasy is called samadhi. This stage of appreciation becomes the cause of future exchanges of loving affairs with Krishna.
For the sailing is the one.
Coming to the end, skipping some pages, he developed a natural attraction for Krishna, and therefore I can explain about his character will simply be an arrangement of words. His actual character is impossible to describe. This means that Narada himself admitted that the natural development of Prahlada's ecstatic love was by the grace of Lord Krishna. The natural attraction for Krishna on the part of Prahlada was developed simply by the mercy of Narada. When Prahlad Maharaj was within the womb of his mother, she was being sympathetically instructed by Narada about the science of devotional service. And at the same time, Narada was wishing that the child within the womb would also take advantage of the instructions. Because Narada, as an authorized devotee and great associate of the personality of Godhead, was desiring auspiciousness of Prahlad Maharaj. He developed all the characteristics of a high grade devotee. This is called natural attraction. It is caused by the special grace of the personality of Godhead or by the special grace of the great devotee like Narada. There is a statement in the Skanda Purana wherein Parvata Muni tells Narada, "My dear Narada, of all the saintly persons, you are so great and glorious that simply by your good wishes, a low born hunter also has become a great elevated devotee of Lord Krishna." This ecstatic love for Krishna can be divided into 5 divisions, which will be described by Rupa Goswami later on. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरो वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका खंत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुश्च कृपा सिन्धुवैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे लीलाचल निवास नित्य प्रभात बलभद्र सुभद्रा बहन जगन्नाथाय नमः। So thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha. And today we're following up on chapter 17, the ecstatic love by Srila Rupa Goswami from Nectar of Devotion. And yesterday we went over the definitions and some characteristics and so on and so forth. But before we go deep into the subject matter, as you can see, this is a very elevated subject matter. So, as you can see in this Bhakti Lata beach, which is emanating into a beautiful flower, the central portion of the flower you're seeing is prema, which is pure love. And the prior stage is bhava, which is ecstatic love. But these are topics which we all should aspire towards. But we should aspire in a natural way. We should get the principles right. We should work towards it. But we should also recognize that this bhava and prema, bhava is the petal, and prema is the internal portion of the flower which is holding on the bhava petals around it. So we should all recognize that this is a topic which should not be artificially aspired towards. It should be recognized that we should aspire towards, but we should also recognize that we are nowhere there. But as aspiration, it as an aspirational objective, we can definitely understand what bhava and prema is. So before that, we have to recognize where we are. Sometimes we have people who come to the temple. Sometimes I met a devotee not long ago, 2 days back, in a uh, in a mechanic place. He was coming to our temple long back. He was regularly coming to our temple, and but nowadays, since 1 or 2 years, I didn't see him. So I asked him, Prabhu, what happened? Did you find? He said, I found the calling from somewhere else. So, so in order for us to stay focused in this devotional practitioner stage, we have to have a strong fundamentals. Sometimes we think that this is a mechanical thing and you take some initiation, some stages, and it is going to stick. But if our foundation is not right, as you can see, there is a plant. If the foundation is not strong, you see the heart is in the seed. But if the roots, His Holiness uh, Radhanath Maharaj gives the example of this huge trees from in California. They're redwood trees, and these redwood trees, it's not as if the roots are deep. The roots are intertwined with other redwood trees' root, and once that is done, these trees not only survive for years, it survives for tens and twenties and 30s and 40 years. And there is huge uh, tornado of huge magnitude, but nothing can truly unshackle them. So, in order for us and our bhakti is basically establishing a loving relationship with the Supreme through the process of devotional service, which is mentioned by our Divine Grace, our primeval Acharya Srila Prabhupada, in a very wonderful manner. So, it starts with solidifying our Shraddha for the temple, the devotees, the deities, the prasadam, for all the paraphernalia around the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the process which is established by, if you'll see in the school or in colleges and also in workplaces, people do not have a solid faith in the management or the executives or whatever you want. Even if they are embarking on a positive uh, forward movement, just by sheer negative impression or lack of impression for the superior, they lose faith in the company or the studies. And that is the reason why a lot of people take a break from the semesters, and because they want to uh, recognize what the strengths are and align. So all of these love for the supreme or the focus on expressing our devotional service starts with shraddha, which is essentially the root, the roots, the spreading out roots. And more we intertwine our roots with association of devotees, so that these devotees, as Radhanath Maharaj mentions of the redwood trees, the beautiful video you'll see in YouTube and some forwards, that as our roots, our shraddha gets intertwined with the shraddha of others, then the tree, this Bhakti Lata tree, becomes very strong. And once that tree root through the process of shraddha enhances its foothold, and as it grows, the tree wants to associate with like-minded trees, in the sense that this Bhaktilata creeper get intertwined by other strong creepers, so that untangling the creeper, Bhaktilata beach creeper, becomes very, very difficult. So you are strengthening the foundation, not only just in the root, but also around the stem area with a lot of uh, emphasis. And these emphasis, as you can see, not only survives with yourself, it stays with mercy. Our devotional service has to do with a lot of mercy. And that is where Lal Govind Prabhu mentions how some spiritual disciples with very limited interaction with the spiritual master, but taking the words in a very strong manner, they grow significantly in their bhakti life. It's precisely because of the mercy. So we cannot underestimate the mercy, and that's why you need the mercy of a devotee. The devotee can be a spiritual master, can be your practicing guru in the form of Shiksha Guru, or so. Once you have a collection of association from where the mercy flows, uh, then your Shraddha sprouts, and then you start chanting, you start reading books, which is so this bhajana kriya is just not singing. It is any form of devotional service where you are expressing. So far, you are basically taking inputs in the form of, association, now association with elevated souls, being Shraddha and Sadhu Sangha respectively. Then you start doing something. A devotional service is also compared with Bhajana Kriya, singing, doing work, doing garlanding, doing prasadam, serving the devotees, expressing love. So far, the love is, but expressing love is nothing but the bhajana kriya, where leaves starts growing. So when leaves grows, the chlorophyll, which basically helps in getting the food. Once you start doing bhajana kriya, you start getting you start getting to get fed to grow. And by doing this process, as some of our acharyas mentions, when you chant regularly, when you like, say for example, there are some imperfection uh, in a land, for example, and that land you had imperfection because it was acquired, not accurately or not following the Vedic principles. But there you start doing some devotional service in the form of growing Tulsi Maharani or doing Go Seva there or serving the devotees there. All of a sudden, all the prior negativity around that thing goes away. Because whenever Lord comes, and most of the time it happens, whenever a kid gets married or this thing, the first invitation card is often sent to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because once the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes, whatever inauspiciousness is there, it will be all eradicated. So then you get into the process of neutralizing some of the impediments from your path, and as you, that is anartha nivritti, and once that happens, then you get a steadfast linkage to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by doing service regularly, once a week, every Wednesday, um, every Sunday. So and actually sometimes there are impediments, but still over a period of time, since the temple came, the temple came in Plainfield in 2014, which is 10 years um, past. We're 10 years past now. But you will see there are a consistent set of people. They'll be doing certain services regularly over a period of time. There is absolutely nothing which can take them away from the devotional service. And that's where you build that nista, in which you have the dedication, and the dedication is not perturbed by all the impediments which comes in the way, and then you are constantly doing, and then initially the nista may not transcend into love, but then as you do more and more nista, you get ruchi or love for that devotional service for which you have built nista, and then you stop going to this Friday potlucks, or you stop going to so you get favorable attraction to the devotional service. That means you have a liking for it, asakti, and anytime you don't go to the temple in a week, you feel there is a separation, so you have asakti. So when Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, detach yourself from the material enjoyment, but at the same time a bhakta gets attachment to the devotional service, and that is favorable, and that is asakti. And then we're talking about ecstatic love, which is bhava. And if it is mentioned, if sun is prema or pure love, then the sun ray is referred as bhava or ecstatic love. If the center of the flower is prema, and the petals, as you can see, is the bhava, and through that process of ecstatic love, and by that time you have gone to the ecstatic love stage, you have already transcended so many of these stages. And this is where we have to recognize that in Padma Purana and in many different places, there are references, and of course Narad Muni, who has a history, and all of them, if you see, have gone through the steps, and because they have gone through the steps, for them bhakti or devotional service comes as a default settings. And whenever they see or hear Harinam going in the streets, they'll go and join. Wherever you see the book distribution going, they'll go and join. So this becomes a asakti in the form of attachment to devotional service. And once gradually, if you don't go to temple, you don't feel separation, you don't see the deities, you get separation from them, and that is a build up, and this bhaktilata bridge has to be protected all the time, otherwise goats will come and eat the creepers out. So we have to kind of protect it, fence it, so that we and then, as Srila Prabhupada is ending the translation of this chapter, he is giving the example of Narad Muni, how Narad Muni can go to any planet, any time, and he is constantly, uttering the name of the Lord, Narayan, 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 and he will go from one planet to another. He can go to another, one planet to another, and through his mercy, many people have become devotees, and because it has been strengthened over a period of life that he is where he is. So when Narad Muni is actually exhibiting those qualities of constantly remembering the name of the Lord as Narayan, 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 he is exhibiting those bhava and prema, and and that is not very common. I mean, we have miles and miles and miles to go, but the fact remains that we have to recognize a principle as to where we are aspiring for, so that at least we can eventually get there. So bhava in that sense is a very topmost person. Ecstatic love is bhava, and that should never be compromised, and we should always refer to that. And sometimes this bhava, as Srila Prabhupada was commenting in the purport, that sometimes we have devotees who are singing, and when they're singing the name of the Lord, tears comes from their eyes. Whenever they're dancing during Janmashtami or Rath Yatra, you'll see tears coming out of the Lord. So those are symptomatic, ecstatic tendencies, and and that, when it is internalized and prolonged over a period of time, then you will see. And some of these symptoms, your hair standing up, and you'll be getting goosebumps, and those are some of the uh, aspects which is very common in a topmost devotee, and that is where we really want to give example of uh, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu epitomized that, uh, and here you see Lord Alarnath has a temple in Brahmagiri, which is 17 kilometers from Jagannath Puri, and during Snan Yatra, you all have experienced during Snan Yatra to Rath Yatra, Lord doesn't give darshan. So when Lord doesn't give darshan, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years back was feeling separation. He used to cry, his hair will stand up, and at the time, uh, in traditionally speaking, this is Lord Alarnath is traditionally the Lord of the Alvars, going back to hundreds and thousands of century, who installed Lord Alarnath there from Alvars, in the from the Alvar heritage and tradition. So, and he is actually a form of Vishnu, which you see here. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went there in ecstatic. He just ran towards, because he couldn't find his greatest, l- because uh, he is Krishna Viraha Vidura. That means uh, he is Krishna in separation from Krishna, and Lord Jagannath is Radha Viraha Vidura. That means he is Krishna in separation of Radharani. So when Krishna Viraha Vidura and Radha Viraha Vidura cannot meet, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in separation from Radharani. Lord Jagannath is in separation of, sorry, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in separation of Krishna. He's uh, and Lord Jagannath is in separation of Radharani. And every day they used to have meeting. And wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to go in Jagannath Puri, he would leave an imprint. He used to hold, when he used to see Lord Jagannath very far behind, because the attraction is so tremendous. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never used to go, because it will be difficult for him to control. So he used to always watch Lord Jagannath behind the Garuda Stamba in the temple. And there is a door which is still there on the door wall. He used to keep his hand, and he would relish the darshan of Lord Jagannath from a very far behind. And through the process, he so much of heat would get generated that he would melt those, the fingertips are still there in Jagannath Puri, and that is ecstatic love for you devotees. The ecstatic love which is exhibited through this process is exhibited by a very topmost uh, devotee who is Krishna himself. And if you see today, 500 years later, those finger molten marks are still there. So whenever devotees go around the Garuda Stamba, they take darshan of those fingertips which is melted on the stone by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then, so in separation, 1 year during Snana Yatra to Rath Yatra, when Lord is in transcendental illness, when he doesn't give darshan, he is recuperating. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Alarnath, which is 17 kilometers in a place called Brahmagiri. And there he saw Lord Alarnath. And in Alarnath, he saw Lord Jagannath. And Alarnath saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in that interaction, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell down with ecstasy. When ecstatic symptoms happen, your body becomes very heated. Some people get goosebumps. Some people hair stand up. When we were basically talking about the appearance of Lord Ram in Ayodhya Dham, in his birthplace, around January 22, it was a lot of people. For them, it was very ecstatic. They were the ecstatic love for Lord Ram, and we had 10 days of Ram Katha, and it was very ecstatic. So, but those ecstasy in a devotee like us comes temporarily, but in topmost greatest devotees who have shown us what ecstatic love is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell down. There was so much of heat which got generated from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago that he melted the entire stone. Till this age, there in the scientific age, there is not a single machine which is made. They can melt copper, they can melt iron ore to make steel, and they can melt so many things. They can melt aluminum to make all this, pots and things like that. But there is not a single blast furnace which is there which can melt the stone. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 500 years ago, melted the stone by seeing Alarnath and falling down. That ecstatic love generated so much of heat that even today, when you go to Alarnath, a lot of devotees go there, you'll see a big outline of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can make out how tall Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was and how long his hands were. His hands used to touch the knee, and he used to be a very tall. And till today, when you go, you can take darshan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in those molten imprints he created 5 years ago. That is nothing but ecstatic love. And these ecstatic loves are examples. It's not for us to imitate, it is for us to get inspiration from. And it should not be done with a copycat attitude. It should be done systematically through Vaidhi Bhakti process. And through the Vaidhi Bhakti process, as we built that over a period of time, we follow it and we generate nistha. Practically speaking, in this age where we are all practitioners, it has to be imbibed and practiced, and that's why sometimes during Janmashtami you'll find some devotees wonderfully doing kirtan, and during Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri, Bakreshwar Pandit used to dance in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath on the chariot for days. Dancing 15 minutes is very difficult. Sometimes we do kirtan after 15-20 minutes, it becomes very difficult. But the devotees with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's association, Bakreshwar Pandit, for example, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he used to be in the Kirtan Mandali, there used to be different Kirtan Mandali taking the entourage, taking Lord Jagannath in the entourage from the main temple to Gundicha temple. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to be in all the Kirtan Mandalis, and everybody felt as if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had never left them. He was present in all Kirtan Mandalis at the same time, exactly like how Lord Krishna used to be around his 16,108 queens when he was ruling in Dwarka. So, this ecstatic love is something for us to get inspiration from and purify ourselves to get there, not to create a copycat and try to show off in our ability to serve or do some devotional service. So, so more and more we do devotional service, this package of ecstatic love will naturally be born within, and that is spoken in the Bhakti Lata Bij by so many of our practitioners. And Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu gives us that example of Narad Muni, gives the example of so many acharyas in our movement who has exhibited that ecstatic love. And sometimes you'll see that, sometimes they are pulling the cart of Lord Jagannath, or uh, you know uh, recognizing that Krishna is born during Janmashtami, and tears comes out of the eyes, and they will constantly be serving, and they will never get tired, because sometimes, as you know, when you go to different places during Rath Yatra, there is a lot of coordination which happens, and after pulling the chariot, some people might think some people get tired, but actually, on the contrary, many people get so much of ecstatic energy from the festival that at night 10, 11, 12, when our Janmashtami used to happen in Ukrainian center, 3,000 people used to come and we used to serve at the wrap up will happen at 12 o'clock. By that time, majority uh, devotees will be tired, but there'll be some devotees who every Janmashtami they will be doing the wrap up, and the kind of energy they derived from the festival by seeing so many devotees having a great time celebrating the appearance day of Lord Krishna. They get so much energy that the wrap up, when everybody will be running to sleep, they will be helping out at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the night. And that, and when after doing a festival of that magnitude, you're not tired, you can recognize the ecstasy is really coming into picture. The ecstasy came into the hearts and souls when Ramji came in Ayodhya after a long time. So these festivals are catalyst to provide ecstatic love for us. Ecstatic love get generated. Nityanand Trayodasi is coming. Nityanand Prabhu was epitomized ecstatic love so many times, and he was acting in a one act play when he was a child, and then when he was performing the character of Lakshman, and he goes into ecstasy, and he exhibits tendencies wherein he would, after the one act play is done, he would end up saying, I was Lakshman, I was part of that character for all throughout. And when Nityanand Prabhu went to Jagannath Puri, he went directly, and he was in so much of ecstasy that he was a huge personality, so he kind of pushed the guard and straight away went to Lord Jagannath, and Lord Jagannath in Jagannath Puri is at an upright altar, like your face will come where the altar starts. And he went and hugged Lord Baladev and came back. On the way back, he gave a hug to the guard who he pushed to go in. Essentially, he was in so much of ecstasy when he landed in Jagannath Puri, and this pastime is depicted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And there are many wonderful pastimes of ecstasy, how Lord uh, gives mercy to devotees to showcase ecstasy. And this, as we practice more and more devotional service, this ecstatic love, as specified in the Bhaktilata Beej, has to be understood, and that is where there will be no fake in our ability. And once you start going through the process, for example, Mirabai, who was in ecstatic love for Krishna, and in ecstasy, she has written so many wonderful bhajans for the Surdas, for example, was blind and physically blind, but he could see Krishna everywhere, and he had ecstasy, and and this ecstatic love for the Supreme is in a practicing way very nicely organized by our Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya, ISKCON. In a way, you can get there without any fake attitude. And once the Bhaktilata Beej is maintained, nurtured, and protected, we will uh, lead a life, and the ecstasy will set in us. And this is something which is not artificial, as I mentioned. So, keeping our principles at a high ceiling is recommended, because in doing so, we can always try to be methodical. We'll not miss our service. We will help each other, and treat all the devotees, because devotees are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if you defy the devotees, you make a devotee unhappy, then Krishna will not be happy. That's why staying coherent in a very cooperation manner, having a good relationship, not hurting anybody, getting rid of envy from our hearts, and getting rid of all these anarthas will go a long way in purifying ourselves. It will detoxify our internals, and eventually we become so pure and pure and pure that we feel pain in somebody's pain, and we share happiness in somebody's happiness. Most of the time it's the other way. People with envy feel happiness when others are in sadness. But with more and more practicing, a Vaishnava becomes paradukya dukhi, and gradually those tendencies, those qualities will set in, and we start relishing Krishna consciousness in a way which is experienced by the practitioners in our movement. And if we follow that footstep, we can definitely experience ecstasy someday. And ecstatic love comes in sometime when the darshan opens. You might have ecstatic love for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and after that, we all try to complete it because we'll be hungry. But having that ecstatic love for everything we do, whether it is Ekadasi fasting, or whether it is a fasting during our Acharya's appearance day, or any festival of an importance, uh, having that regulation in our life gradually over a period of time, it will better uh, at the chances of deriving ecstasy in the devotional process. We can go on and on, but this is a subject matter which needs some introspection, because ecstatic love is a very high bar which is set by our acharyas, which we all should aspire towards. But some of us may not be at that stage, considering that there are responsibilities and so many other impediments. But aspiring to get there, at least getting that ecstatic love, you know 5 or 10 times a year, at least during festivals, served nicely, then that 5 or 10 times a year becomes 20 times a year, and 30, 40, 50 times a year, and then becomes a regular activity. And that ecstatic love can only be realized internally through the expression of love for the Supreme. So we can go on and on, but like to end here with opening up to your comments, questions, and corrections. Looking forward to hearing something and learn about if you have experienced ecstasy in love for the Supreme, or love for a devotees which has inspired you, or any way you have felt ecstasy. And that's the reason why you have joined this movement, because the end is ecstatic love, and people go to any extent in the unregulated way to derive ecstasy. And this ecstasy uh, aspects in the material life is very, very temporary, and people go to miles and miles to do the wrong thing. But in our movement, we also derive ecstasy, as uh, Rupa Goswami has so beautifully explained, giving the example of so many acharyas and so many of our Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya, from Brahmaji, Madhavacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bakreshwar Pandit. Srila Prabhupada has mentioned, when he is writing the books, that's the exhibition, that's the outpouring of ecstasy. So his books are actually ecstasy. So when Srila Prabhupada used to be ecstatic, he will write this book. And sometimes when he reads the same books, he would say, I don't know how I wrote this book. Krishna wrote this book. I happened to just run the pen on it. So if you have experienced ecstasy, share it, unmute it, and like to hear your comments, corrections, and reflections, and the technique you follow to foster that element of ecstasy. If you can unmute and speak, we will learn some techniques. Otherwise, thank you so much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any question or comments about ecstatic love? If you have some techniques you want to share, or if you have experienced ecstatic love for the Supreme or the devotees, please share. We'll also like to hear from you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Danvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Very, very nice lecture. I would just like to share the moment that I had when I visited West Virginia Temple for the first time, and I attended Kirtan for the first time. So I had never attended Kirtan before, but the way everyone was singing, and when they chanted loudly Hari Bol amidst Kirtan, I started crying. I don't know, for one reason, it felt as if, it's a genuine call out to Krishna, everyone singing Hari Bol. And I just felt that, yes, my search ends here. I felt like I'd met my parents, and it was that feeling. So I think that was a call out for me, Prabhu. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Mataji. A couple of things on that I wanted to add. Whenever you go on this yatra with Radhanath Maharaj, and the 7, 8, 10,000 people will be there, and that call out you just mentioned, when everybody will be loudly chanting the Harinam with 10,000 people, when Maharaj utters Harinam Mahamantra, it will be so high pitch, that it really hits the heart. That's one thing. Second thing is New Vrindavan. You mentioned West Virginia. Next, I heard that this Nityananda Troyodosi in West Virginia, they have created a new altar for Lord Jagannath. So next time you go to West Virginia after Nityananda Troyodosi, which is falling on the 21st, I think, you will see Lord Jagannath in a new altar. So I thought I'll just add to the point you mentioned.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, it's good to know. I know they were building even Goswami's altar last time. So, yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, I hope to visit this summer. Let's see.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandot
Krishna.
Pranam, all Shishla Prabhupada. Yeah, just I want to share my realization for aesthetic. On our Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Jai Pataka Maharaj's Vyas Puja day, we had like Lal Govind Prabhuji's Katha was also going on. And usually I do Kirtan before Katha starts. So that day I just sang because evening also I supposed to sing Yadi Prabhupada Na Hote, which is written by our dear Guru Maharaj. So, and then I sang, and after that Katha started, and Lal Govind Prabhuji just mentioned about our Guru Maharaj, and he was talking about him, and I could not stop. My tears were just flowing like anything. Even everybody could figure out like Mataji is crying. So that tears for love, tears for respect, everything. It's not like I am sad or something, but continuously tears were flowing and I could not stop at all. And that was really, I felt like, and first time when I met our Guru Maharaj, that time also, he just cleansed my heart. And while coming back by 287, it was so much pouring. Like I thought like Guru Maharaj is just cleaning my heart and everything. I told everything to him in first meeting about my life, what happened, how I am feeling and all that. And after that, Guru Maharaj just changed my life totally. And that day, I felt like, why tears are coming still? Means something is there, calamities, and he is trying to just cleanse the heart. So still now my hands are like shivering, how I felt that time. So it's really, we are very, very fortunate, Prabhuji. And thanks to you. It happens like how I met you that day, Jagannath Yatra at Oak Tree. And we just joined this congregation. Thank you. I really feel, always I feel like how fortunate we are. What we did last birth. We got such a nice congregation. Each devotee is so nice. Like amazing. I don't have any, just say, I can't express how I feel. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for association and very nice class. Haribol.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji, for sharing your heart. Mataji is referring to a Oak Tree Road Rath Yatra. At that time, I think Mataji had moved from Philadelphia to New Jersey, and the Rath Yatras, Oak Tree Road Rath Yatra, Actual Day Rath Yatra, and Atlantic City Rath Yatra. You never know how devotees get connected, and Mataji's association with ICNJ started with that Oak Tree Road Rath Yatra, and you could see Mataji is doing a lot of service in so many other departments. So, and the other thing Mataji spoke about is how His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj wrote about that song. That song has a lot of details around how Srila Prabhupada has impacted him. And through the process of serving over a period of time, and on the day of his appearance day, and with the congregation, if it has touched and you could feel it, it speaks a lot about the connection. And many times there would be some challenges here and there, but as long as we stay connected to great devotees like His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, and further our bhakti, it will stick. Otherwise, it'll shatter. So thank you for sharing, Mataji, and look forward to more service to ICNJ, and hope you grow, all of you grow in your devotional service.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Haribol.
Haribol. Any other thoughts?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Anjana
Hare
here.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, like very nice about like today's class. It is the same feeling. And in my case, it also started with the temple Rath Yatra and also like from the garland services. And definitely like temple is the place we get chance to express our love, like through many ways, or even by listening, or even by being there. But the part that makes the uncomfortable, like in my case, is the crying part.
Mhm.
In my family, I am the member who is famous for not crying. When family members talk about, they say like, even my husband says like, she doesn't cry. Like when I was little, they used to say, no, she really, I was happy child kind of person, famous. And even doctors, they used to mention like she should cry at least 10 minutes a day. And then my parents, they used to, like, per doctor's instruction, they used to make me, like, put on a side so that I cry. I can imagine how they were feeling at the time. Even now, like, my husband was saying, like, she doesn't cry. The only place I cry is the temple. That makes, I don't know, like, how to handle this situation. I don't
Yeah.
see any solution for this. Like
Yeah.
I go
No.
to temple, I should cry there. Like I feel uncomfortable crying in public. Or what? I don't know why I'm like this.
Yeah. So thank you, Mataji, for sharing your heart. That means you're crying in the temple. That means Sri Sri Radha Sam Sundar Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai and Gaurnitai, for whom you're doing whatever you are doing, your service is connecting with you, and that connection is softening your heart, and that has not been there so far. So there has not been, see, different people have different upbringing, and as you say, as some of us say, the inner calling for, because Krishna mentions aham sarvasya prabhu, everything comes from him, aham bija pradapita, that he's the seed giving father of all of us. And when you see that devotional service, so far you had gone to many temples, but the effect of you doing something, whatever little it may be or whatever more it may be, you basically directly connecting to the Supreme, and that is when you you see the connection. You recognizing that Lord is going to wear yellow dress on Wednesday, and you are making a garland, thinking how Lord is going to look when he's wearing a yellow dress, so that I will have contrast. So you are thinking, you are remembering, or rather, it is called meditating on the form of the Lord, and through this ongoing process over a period of time, you're feeling that that connection, and that connection is softening your heart, and that is when tears are falling, because tears falling tears is actually relieving you from so many stress, so many other things. So that is a great thing. and by doing devotional service in temple, if that could cry, it's a great therapy for you as well, and all of us for that matter. And sometimes we have become so hard in our lives that we cease to cry. Crying is a thing which relieves a lot of things, and crying for the Lord is mentioned in so many scriptures, is very helpful in our uh, in our in our movement, in our in the process of bhakti. So thank you for sharing and opening your hearts. And if you, as you shared with the devotees who can understand that other places, there are other people who won't understand it. So you are sharing with the like-minded devotees, and it's going to grow more and more as you do more and more devotional service. So it is extremely favorable in that sense. So thank you for sharing, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. What I do, I run away from the places that make me feel like crying. That's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So today's class was really good. I really like that picture that you shared of blossoming of the Bhakti Lata, in our lives. I didn't understand a lot of terms. I tried to zoom in and, try to understand, but where could we learn more about these terms? And maybe I'm like pretty much like, I'm definitely a neophyte devotee. So Prabhuji, could you please guide me?
Sure. So this Bhaktilata beach, which you would see in many literature from ISKCON, there is, of course, nectar of devotion. There is Upanishad, there is nectar of instruction, where the traits of a devotee is very well established. So this bhakti is a very easy thing, and it can be a very difficult thing. It's a very spontaneous thing, and often spontaneous things are intertwined with so much of difficulty we face in our day-to-day life, in our office, and so on. That's why bhakti becomes a distraction. So, how to repose faith, how to stay regulated, how to eat things which will make ourselves focused. So, it has become a technology by itself. Earlier, it was more of a spontaneous thing, like the gopis, for example, or our Goswamis, for example. But of late, unless we stay regulated by virtue of these books, these methods, these ways of Vaishnava Sadachar, or for that matter. So once we stay regulated in all our manners, how to repose faith in our divine grace, we have joined ISKCON. So the best way to get these techniques, if I may, about fostering our bhakti is through this Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, then the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as you know, didn't write a lot of books. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just coined the Sistastakam verse, but he exhibited an ecstatic life. He came to Jagannath Puri in 24, and he stayed in this in his manifested form till 48. So in this 24 years, 18 years he stayed in Jagannath Puri, and 6 years he went to South India and so many other places. So those 18 years, the Madhya Leela and Anta Leela in Chaitanya Charitamrita is about Jagannath Puri. So where he used to, so he could squeeze himself. If you have gone to Gambhira, where he used to live, Gambhira is actually a narrow house. The room is very small. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as I mentioned, through the melting of the stone, is actually very tall. So sometimes he used to squeeze himself like a tortoise. Sometimes, so the ecstasy was there. People who did not understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, many people in the material sense might think that he is not in his senses. He is probably a madman and things like that. But our concept of devotion is once you become devoted and once you grow, you become very simple. Lord wants to stay in the hearts of simple devotees. So some of these techniques are definitely here, and we have some wonderful preachers who have explained this nectar of devotion in very nice ways. There are steps. So once you follow these books and attend some of the focused classes and practice, do some devotional service here and there. And devotional service is not easy. There will be egos and all. How to and that will give us an opportunity to reduce our egos and align with devotees. And then you realize that this thing I ended up doing is not for myself or my family member or for somebody. It's a direct service to the Lord, and that will gradually manifest. So I would say some books, as I mentioned, and some wonderful. Tomorrow we have a katha by His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu, who through his talk, through his connections, gives some very nice tips about how to foster. And we have festivals coming up. Advaita Acharya's appearance day is day after tomorrow. Nityanand Prabhu's appearance is next week, and of course Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is actually a form of the ecstatic love you can ever think of. His appearance day is coming in March. As you hear those wonderful kathas and as to how the ecstasy was shared, we will internalize it, and it'll fall in our
Eventually
lives.
grow. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's like a long way, but I think wherever we are or wherever I am, I think just kind of like do what I'm doing with more absorption, more focus. And as you mentioned, Prabhuji, obviously I'll read the books that you mentioned. One is the Nectar of Devotion that we already have, our classes going on, and the other one was teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? That's definitely, there's a long way to go for sure. Yeah, looking at this picture itself, it's like, wow, there's so many terms I don't even know. I mean, where am I? Nowhere, So it's good. Thanks for sharing that, Prabhuji.
Thank you. We all are in certain phases of our life. It's a journey. It's a personal journey. So
Yeah.
never get disheartened by sometimes we fall down in the sense there is so much our chanting doesn't become attentive. So you're not alone in this journey. So just keep trying, and things will emerge.
Yeah. Thanks, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So any other comments before we end?
Prabhuji, could I ask one more thing, or maybe just I don't
Sure.
know if nobody has any question. So Prabhuji mentioned about Lord Alarnath's story, right? So was that the origination of the Alvars of South that you were mentioning? Is that how it originated?
That's
from?
right. They have come from the Alvars of the South. There is
Okay.
another pastime associated with how Alarnath came there, how the Alvars of the South came, and it's a beautiful pastime. and colloquially they are they are from ALWAR Nath from the south, but colloquially when they speak they say Alarnath, so it became ALAR Nath. So it's the same pastime, and there's a very deep there is this pastime around the kheer, the blister falling on the hand of Vishnu, and if you go there now, Alarnath, the place I'm referring to, you see blisters in Vishnu's hand. The picture I was showing, if you go there, they will give you darshan of blisters in his hand. And beautiful story, beautiful pastime. Let's save it for another day. It will be wonderful. It's the same.
Sure.
They are from the Alwar.
It's the same, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Prabhuji.
All right. So let's end here. So Mr. Prabhu may be doing some other service. Amritanand Prabhu, you want to end, or you maybe also?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Let's end here, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Nice class, wonderfully explained about the ecstatic love. Last two sections were part 1 and part 2 was explaining about the Bhav Bhakti, the ecstatic love, that how one can come to that stage. It's not that easy, as we say. So we all should pass through. And once we pass through the Anartha Nivritti stage, then we come to the stage of Nishtha, steadiness, and then we come to the stage of Ruchi. That means we develop the taste. Then we come to the stage of Asakti. Asakti means detachment. Or you say Asakti means attachment, or we say Sakti or Asakti. Then there is a word called Asakti. So always remember that Asakti and Asakti. Asakti means over attachment, over and over. Asakti means also that is detachment. Asakti, there is no detachment. The two words, always remember that. You should not confuse that with it. Asakti. Then we come to that stage of Bhav. So always remember that. So we all can come to that process from the beginning of that, the faith, the strong faith in the Supreme Lord. Then we come to the stage of Bhajana Kriya, association of devotees, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, all we have to very strictly follow. So that's our duty, that's our purpose of our existence, to come to the stage of Bhav and ultimately to the Prema of the Lord. In that state, we should not think, so many of this material entanglements and material attachments and so many, we can talk endlessly about all these material afflictions. So then that's Srila Rupa Goswami was revealing to that stage. One can come to that stage, and finally that's where we really, attaining Krishna and attaining the association of Krishna very constantly, without any, any moment of, disassociation. Always we can associate with the Krishna in that state. So thank you so much. So we'll be taking the next chapter, is called Pure Devotional Service, in the Friday. Next 2 days we'll not have a class because of tomorrow is Radheshyam Prabhu is speaking tomorrow at the temple, and then Thursdays are to the Acharya's appearance day. So as we all know that, Sri Advaita Acharya's mercy that we are all here. So, let us be there in the temple and associate with the devotees and hear more and more about this transcendental science of the spiritual science. So then only we can purify ourselves. Okay. So please join, attend, and also this weekend is Kirtan Festival. There are loads of Kirtanias are coming. A wonderful program, and a lot of efforts are already put. And also, if you are available on Friday, so please join. There is a wonderful service opportunity that we all can participate and clean and nicely decorate. And there's so many other devotees are coming from many other temples, and Kirtanis are coming from the temples. But they also should have very good experience and feeling. Okay. Yeah, that's next Wednesday is Nityananda Trayodashi. It's one of the greatest festival. Please don't miss it, and please try to see that what services you can do for the Supreme Lord Nityananda, Lord Nityananda, Lord Advaita Acharya. This way that we can, this is our greatest fortune, that engaging in the service of the Lord. Okay. Yeah, with this we can conclude if there is nothing else. Anybody else has anything, any other questions or concerns, comments? Okay, let's conclude then today's session. Vancha kalpatarupasya kripa sindhubhya padidana pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namaha. Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Sandhara Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai. Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Gaudi Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Gauru Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Hema.
Thank you, Hema Jagannath Prabhu.
Thank you, Hema
Thank you,
Jagannath
everyone.
Prabhu.
Thank you.